Let's look at Howie Roseman reportedly calling all around the league for help at secondary. Nick Sirianni defends Brian Johnson's play calling. Read Blakenship, how about a really good injury update on that rib? And the best Lane Johnson news you'll hear all week. I'm Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. Let's start today's show similar to shows in the past by giving a quick shout out to the Philadelphia Phillies last night and Bryce Harper, who only won, not because they're fantastic, but because the duo of Jason and Travis Kelce were in attendance. Just kidding, it's also because the Phillies are absolutely fantastic. Harper hit a big bomb, they're up 1-0. Congratulations and thumbs up to the Phillies. Bring this one home, couple more games away from going to the World Series. Okay, some quick Eagles roster updates, nothing crazy here, but they did work out 2 wide receivers for the practice squad, one being former Saints receiver Marquez Callaway, you might recognize him from a couple of years ago, and also former Panthers receiver who's massive, 6'4", Desmond Patman. Nothing really special here. I think Philadelphia's just trying to make sure they have additional bodies at wide receiver in case something were to happen. With Quez Watkins already going to IR, going to miss the next at least 3 games, they want to have an ability to call somebody up if there were to be some sort of other major injury at wide receiver. Now, Callaway did have kind of a good year 2 years ago with the Saints, but much like everybody I talk about at this point in the season, if you're a free agent, it's for a reason. Where the Eagles sign either one of those, maybe they will later today, but not necessarily the big news we're hoping for, and that is, of course, a trade. Now, the best news of the day has got to be the update on Lane Johnson, with Jeff McLane stating that the MRI on Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson's injured right ankle revealed a lateral sprain, an NFL source said. While considered a high ankle sprain, Johnson feels good and will push to play on Sunday versus the Dolphins, one source said. That right there has got to be the best news of the day. But not to be outdone, Nick Sirianni just finished up his morning Tuesday hit on local radio, 94.1 WIP, where he said he's doing everything he can to play in the game this week. They'll have a better idea later this week. That's crazy to me. The ankle injury looked really bad, the limping off the field, the fact we didn't see him in the game or on the sideline at all after the injury took place. Chance to play this Sunday against the Miami Dolphins is absolutely massive. Although I will say, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be a little cautiously optimistic and bet he might not play on Sunday just due to the fact that they want to give him a little bit more time to get that ankle ready. Although it is Lane Johnson, and he's a heck of a lot tougher than me, and there's a lot of modern medicine to ease that pain for a chance to play on Sunday. But my idea is that Lane Johnson has a history of high ankle sprains, and the smart idea might be to shut him down for the next couple of weeks, add in the extra bye, and then bring him back for the Eagles' brutal gauntlet of games starting with the Chiefs. Or they technically could sit him for the next 2 weeks, and he'd miss the game against the Dolphins, the game against the Commanders, and then the third week coming back to play the Dallas Cowboys at home in what's going to be a huge game for the division. Nothing would make me happier than Lane Johnson being ready and healthy for the game against the Cowboys. That way he can just delete Micah Parsons like he does each and every time they play each other. But if you believe the reports today, all of that is for naught, and Lane Johnson's going to really try and push to play on Sunday night against the Miami Dolphins, which, as we talk about many, many times, it's crucial that Philadelphia has Johnson out there because their win-loss record with the All-Pro right tackle is a lot better than the win-loss record without the All-Pro right tackle. Either way, what would you guys do? Would you push Lane Johnson to play even if he's 70%, 80% on Sunday? Would you rather let him rest and be ready to go for the Eagles' gauntlet of games that include the Dallas Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys again? Let me know down below. Either way, you have to have a plan in place in case the all-world left tackle isn't able to play, because Jack Driscoll on Sunday gave up, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit in 42 snaps yesterday. Lane Johnson in 1,312 snaps has given up 0 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. Now, in Driscoll's offense, he was brought in a pinch and didn't seem to be as prepared as you would hope he would be, being the backup right tackle. But Jeff McLane noted that Tyler Steen, maybe he's the answer if Lane Johnson is unable to go, saying, quote, in the past, Driscoll has done better with a week of prep versus in a pinch. Eagles may want to consider Tyler Steen if Lane Johnson is out, but most of the experience has been at left tackle. Although McLane also noted the Eagles moved Jordan Mailata from left tackle to right tackle to account for Andre Dillard in 2021, it's possible to do the same for Tyler Steen or Fred Johnson. Remember, they went straight to Jack Driscoll at right tackle last season when Lane missed a couple of games, and Nick Sirianni likes him. He's a first off the bus kind of guy, but as they say, all cards should be on the table. Either way, Jeff Stoutland, Nick Sirianni, it's their job this week as the head coach and the offensive line coach to get the offensive line figured out. They have struggled when Lane Johnson is out of there, and just because you don't have Lane Johnson doesn't mean you can't at least protect on the right side, give Jalen Hurts a little bit more time, and make sure this offense doesn't miss as big of a beat as they did on Sunday versus the Jets. How confident are you guys in the Eagles offensive line going into the Dolphins game? I think if Lane Johnson is there and is better than 80% healthy, they're going to be just fine. But if Lane Johnson is out and they just roll Driscoll with very little help or very little changes, it could be a long day for Jalen Hurts, at least from his right side. Now, we do have some more good injury news, this time regarding safety Reed Blakenship, who re-aggravated his rib injury on this hit. He never returned to the game. Jeremy Fowler reported yesterday that the x-rays on safety Reed Blankenship's injury came back negative, per source. Team will be cautious with his leading tackler, but good signs so far. Now, just like Lane Johnson, this doesn't guarantee he's going to be out there on Sunday, but at least it guarantees it's not a serious long-term cracked rib or a fractured rib or something that'd make it really, really hard for him to go ahead and actually play and hit people. But with the chance that Reed Blankenship does play on Sunday and the idea that Sidney Brown can't be out forever with his hamstring injury, maybe reinforcements at the secondary are going to come sooner rather than later. Speaking of adding reinforcements, there's a brand new report that came out yesterday talking about how GM Howie Roseman has been calling all around the league for external assistance at secondary, according to league sources. Now, this is a no-brainer. We kind of knew this and reported on it with Jeremy Chinn just a couple of weeks ago, but Howie Roseman clearly needs to go ahead and make a move at safety just due to the fact that everybody on the Eagles secondary, including practice squad players who have been called up, have basically gotten hurt one week or another. We've talked about some of the names like Jeremy Chinn from the Panthers, Justin Simmons from the Broncos, throwing Buda Baker from the Cardinals, but at this point, I really don't care. Just go out and get somebody to solidify the secondary. I know draft capital is something that Philadelphia doesn't like to get rid of. They like to hoard those draft picks as you get closer and closer to the NFL draft, but just spend the mid-round draft pick, pay the money, you have the cap space, go out and make a move and give this team the additional help that they need. That way injuries don't derail your season. Remember, this defense under Sean Desai is playing really well, but you do play some really good quarterbacks and good receivers the next couple of weeks. Think about Patrick Mahomes, you played Dak and CeeDee Lamb, you played the Bills and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. You don't want to lose more games due to secondary play when Howie can hopefully just wave his magic wand and make a deal. Now, with that being said, Howie does have his work cut out for him because right now every other NFL team knows the Eagles are desperate for a safety, and so when you pick up the phone and call Carolina or the Cardinals or the Broncos, they're going to say, yeah, we'll give you Justin Simmons. Give us your second round draft pick instead of a third, or give us a third round draft pick instead of a fifth. They're going to drive up the asking price and make it a lot more difficult for Philadelphia to make a move. But I still think a move is worth it. What do you guys think? If you could pick from any of those three safeties we mentioned earlier on in the show, who would you guys want? Let me know down below. Now, Eagles offensive coordinator Brian Johnson is getting ripped up and down right now by Eagle fans on Twitter for his play calling and performance against the Jets. And clearly, Nick Sirianni, he's hearing this as he was asked about it yesterday in his Monday press conference and multiple times said, Brian did a nice job, he did fine. And he would go on to say that, according to the play calling, I thought Brian Johnson did a nice job. There's some detailed things. We talk about the design of plays. I'm always going to take the brunt of that. He said he didn't like the design of a few plays and took responsibility for it. And a lot of Eagle fans aren't buying this. I see it on my Twitter feed, you see it on your Twitter feed. Look in the comment section of this video, you'll see them as well. They believe Brian Johnson has been a big-time hindrance to not only Jalen Hurts' development and progress this year, but the offense as a whole. And while play calling and play design is definitely something we can argue about, there's no argument that the Eagles' rushing attack has been neglected the past couple of weeks and not been as effective as it was early on. Look at these numbers from Jeff Kerr. The Eagles running backs had 14 carries for 33 yards against the Jets. They had 24 carries for 87 yards against the Rams, 18 for 70 against the Commanders. The running back group alone is averaging 3.39 yards per carry over their last 3 games. Now, I do understand the Jets did a very good job at least stopping and plugging those Eagle rushing lanes early on in the game to kind of get the Eagles out of wanting to run the football, but you should never have a scenario where Philadelphia is not able to have a balanced rushing and passing attack going into each and every game. Look at this tweet. Jalen Hurts had 45 passing attempts against the Jets, the second most in his career. He was sacked twice, so really that's 47 pass plays. They only ran the ball 22 times, 14 of those to the running backs. They're 0-4 when Jalen has 40-plus passing attempts. Now, that might be seen as a rip on Jalen Hurts or a knock that he can't throw his way to victory, but any quarterback needs a balanced passing and rushing attack in order to be consistently dominant in today's modern NFL. And clearly, the Eagles must be more balanced going forward, although it is interesting when you compare this Eagles offense 6 games into 2023 to the Eagles offense last year, which had a better offensive coordinator 6 games in. They're basically the same. I mean, look at this. The points, the yards, the first downs, the third down conversion, it's actually better yards per play, exactly the same. The big difference has been really the inability to run the football at times, at least the past couple of weeks, and the turnovers. You take those 4 turnovers away and maybe make it, say, 1 turnover, are we all really convinced Philadelphia still loses that game? Now, I'm not trying to give Brian Johnson a pass by any means. There's definitely some instances where you wonder, what are you doing? Like in the red zone with quarterback draws, or on third down and long when you're running shorter than the marker, routes for wide receivers. How about not getting the ball in the hands of Dallas Goedert early on this season, or really finding Devontae Smith or getting him going? There are plenty of issues with this offense. But we at least have to acknowledge the Eagles' offense has not been totally trash this year. They are 5-1, and as we showed you a second ago, the numbers are very similar in comparison to 2022. Where are you guys down on Brian Johnson? Are you of the category that he's ruined the Eagles' offense, he's messed up Jalen Hurts, that he's the big problem right now? Is it Jalen Hurts just not seeing the football field, like some people are saying on Twitter? Give me your thoughts. I'm going to read these comments and peruse through them. One thing is for sure, as we end today's show, Philadelphia needs to keep winning football games, because the Dallas Cowboys, for as iffy as they are, they're only one game back, really half a game back right now in the NFC. More wins, less Cowboy wins are going to be the key, hopefully, to Philadelphia pulling away in this division, despite the fact that their schedule is very, very tough. And we have plenty more stuff happening in the next couple of days and weeks. Thank you for 21,000 subs. Let's get to 22. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.